All right, thank you. First thing, Henry, would you lead us in prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Father, Lord, we come this evening thanking you, Lord, for another opportunity to serve and to do what you have appointed us to do, to conduct the business of this county. Lord, we ask you to bless this session, bless the commissioners, and all that are here. We thank you, and we glorify your name. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight for our Commissioner meeting. First thing on our agenda will be a call to order and approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, we've got a couple of changes we need to add to the agenda tonight. Under number 3, department reports, there'll be added a B. Ms. Reba will have a memorandum of understanding with the Cooperative Extension and the NCA&T University. Under new business, there'll be added number 3. There'll be a resolution to support Senate Bill 433. Number 4 will be Workforce Development Board appointee. Number 5 will be a DOT agreement with the Sunbury Fire Department. And number 6 will be the courthouse roof. That's the only agenda changes that I have.
I'd like to add closed session as authorized by GS 143, 318, 11, 8, 4, and 5.
You making that as a motion?
Yes.
All right, I've got a motion on the floor to change the agenda as stated by Commissioner Hoare. Do I have a second? Second. I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, so we have a closed session after the Commissioner comments. All right, next on the agenda, we'll have our citizen comments. First on here, we have Ms. Pat Falmalar. One more thing before we start this citizens' comments, we would like to try to keep it focused on the old courthouse stabilization and revitalization. Thank you, Pat.
May I start by saying that the library has enjoyed being a library in that building, but we understand that we are excited about a new library coming, and we thank the board for making that possible. And we can get excited now that some dirt has been thrown across the field. The old courthouse people don't come just to come to the library. We get visitors from all over the United States who come and want to do a tour of this historic building. I'm not sure how many of you know there are jail cells in that building. How many of you know there's graffiti on the walls upstairs with the dates 1849 and 1865? Boys will be boys, and they were signed as the Gates County Guard, who were, I guess, one of the early militias in Gates County. But there were messages and words written all over the wall upstairs. So this is an historic thing for Gates County, too, not just the building itself. Did you know that most of the furnishings in the old courtroom are original furnishings? The judge's desk, I'm not sure if that's the proper word for it, the pews or the benches that people sit in, the old jury chairs, not quite as padded and comfortable as those, but they did swivel and they did rock back, so our jurors did not have such a difficult time sitting through it. The bell in the building is the oldest known artifact in Gates County, so it's a building that is just full of Gates County history. It is a building that's on the National Historic the Register of Historic Places. And in 1905, the National Geodetic Survey put a medallion in the wall indicating that the old courthouse is 27 feet above sea level. And they did that in 1905. We also have the only people elevator in the county, and that has been a source of great pleasure for young people and a great deal of help for the older people that, not necessarily older people, but people who might have difficulty coming up the steps. I like to think the building is fixable. I know money is always a problem, but it doesn't have to be done all in one fell swoop. Hopefully that this would be something that the engineers and the architects would be able to work out and figure out how to do it so it could be a useful, used building while they are doing whatever needs to be done little by little. Many workshops in recent years concerning Gates County, and many of you all have attended, and many of other people from Gates County have attended these workshops where we've talked about how do you bring people to Gates County? How do you let people know how special Gates County is? It's also nice to bring tourists and tourist dollars into Gates County. We're within a day's ride of a number of wonderful historic places like Williamsburg and the Outer Banks and so on. So how do we make Gates County known? How do we call attention to these attractions in Gates County? We have to advertise Gates County. People have come to the library and they've said, what are they going to do with this building when you move out? I don't know. You all are the ones that are going to make the decisions. Some suggestions that have been made to me just on a personal one-on-one basis has been, we need a visitor center. Advertise what's going on in the county with a visitor center. I understand that Chamber of Commerce kind of floats around from place to place. Make a Chamber of Commerce office there. Our Historical Society has been very active. Miss Edith has led the Historical Society for many years, and they have done many things for Gates County. Have a Historical Society office there in the building. Use that old courtroom that's been used for many years. The Historical Society has put on plays there. Make it a community theater. They've had fashion shows there. We could have art shows there. We could have, well, I was talking to my daughter this afternoon, and she said, make it a once a month classic movie theater where people could come and eat popcorn and share some of those old classic movies that are difficult to find anymore. There could be guest speakers used in that old courtroom. Did you know Mark Twain has been to speak up there? Did you know Minnie Pearl has entertained and sung up there? Well, not the real people, but people who were interpreting those characters. But it was a wonderful occasion to see those two characters come to life in our old courthouse. The building has wonderful acoustics. They don't need these microphones and things. I had a storyteller one year who came and said, oh, I could come tell stories here every time I come tell stories because the acoustics are wonderful. People could hear and people could understand what was being said there. It's a wonderful building. We've loved being there. We won't miss some of the things we've had, like the floods and the bats, but we do hope that Gates County will find a way to restore the building and make it a living, useful building from now on. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. All right, next on the list is Mr. Daniel Bazemore.
Mr. Chairman, I request to speak at the end, please.
All right. All right, next, Anthony Felton. At the end. Next on the list, Adam Williams.
Well, I'll just keep mine short. If any of you don't know me, I'm a lifelong resident of the county. I'm from Hobbsville. And currently, I am a history teacher at Gates County High School. And as a history teacher, as a historian, I basically kind of just want to speak out in favor of one of our oldest buildings in the county. As Ms. Famlar said, there's a lot of historic stuff just within the old courthouse that if it's gone, if it's not preserved, then that's it, we lose it. So basically, I'm just here trying to get my point across that it does need to be preserved. not just in the now, and that's one thing that we kind of have trouble viewing, is viewing stuff in the now instead of in the future and in the past. We need to preserve the library. It can be, or excuse me, the courthouse. It can be used for a number of things. As Ms. Famlaw was saying, you have the Chamber of Commerce who needs some kind of permanent location. We could advertise some of the things in Gates County, and some of the things that might not be here will soon need a place to market. And for those who don't live in the county, yes, a visitor center would benefit greatly, because if you don't know what's here, then you just keep driving. So the Chamber of Commerce could definitely find a home there. The Gates County Historic Society. Ever since, and Ms. Famlaw can tell you, ever since I was old enough to stand and read a book, I've been at the library. Whether it be attending things from the Gates County Historic Society, I've attended many plays there. Several speakers can be heard there, and I've gone to several of those. And again, the Gates County Historic Society could use a permanent location. So a number of things could be done with the library, courthouse, however we want to view it in the future. So essentially, I'm just asking you, preserve our historic courthouse, and I'll end with a phrase that I begin every semester with all my 9th and 10th graders. Those who do not remember the past are doomed to repeat it. And as I like to add on, repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So let's preserve our past. Let's preserve our future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Next one is Walt Rodan.
I just signed on the thing. I thought it was a sign-in.
Okay.
I will say, though, I love the library.
Come on up here and make your statement. You were just signing in and say you were here, right?
Yeah, I was just signing in. I live in Gatesville, and
Walt
I love
Rodan.
that building. It's a library. It's been a great library, but it wasn't built as a library. So it was built as something else. So it wasn't intended for that. But it'll get used for something that you may not even know would be a good purpose for it. It was a courthouse, and then it wasn't, and then they used it as a library, and it's been an awesome library. So if you take it away, you never know what it could have been in the future.
Thank you, Walt.
Thanks.
We appreciate your comment. All right, that takes care of that. All right, the next on the agenda will be department reports. We'll start with our planning director, Ms. Morgan Jethro.
Good evening, y'all. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I think first you have on your agenda is planning board vacancy appointments. I believe you did get some last-minute submissions as well, and I believe Diane gave those to you.
In the folder.
I said you have a few in the folder in front of you and a few in the pack you got.
Okay.
Mr. Dan Lang is up for reappointment, Mr. Chuck Brothers is up for reappointment, and we have another member who is term limited who must have a replacement.
Okay, gentlemen, we've got 2 appointments for planning board for tonight, and these appointments end when?
They will be for 3-year terms, so 2013, 14, 15, 16, at the end of May of 2016.
I mean, the ones that end now, they end the end of this month.
They already ended, yes, sir. They're supposed to end at the end of this month, but we already had our last meeting for
Okay.
May, so they're done.
All right. All right, the 2 appointments we've got, see, Dan Lang, we've got actually 3 positions, right?
You have 2 that can be reappointed, but one that must have a new member because
We've
he's
got 3
term limited.
positions.
Right.
All right, I reckon the first one we probably ought to do is the one that goes off completely. All right, we've got Thomas Langston I believe his runs out this month, or has already run out, the way I understand it. Next, we'll go ahead and do that one first. We've got 3 applications for the position. We got one from Mr. Wade Askew. We've got one from Mr. I can't find that one somewhere here. Miss Brenda Felton, and also one for Mr. Wesley Moselle. So we've got 3 applicants for a new position. These are all new applicants. We have a, let's see, we need to go into a nomination for these. We need a motion to go into nomination, to open nominations for this position.
So moved.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. All right, gentlemen, we've got one position that has become vacant. We've got 3 applications.
I'd like to nominate Miss Brenda Yor Felton for that position, of the vacated position, please, sir.
I'll nominate Mr. Wesley Mazzell.
Not for the vacant position?
Yes.
All right, we got 2 nominations. Do we have any other nomination for this vacant position? All right. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, gentlemen, we've got 2 applications, 2 nominations for the vacant position, Mr. Weston Moselle and Miss Brenda Felton. We'll just do a show of hands. All in favor of Miss Brenda Felton? Raise your hand.
Okay.
4 to 1.
All right. All opposed? All right.
Let me ask a question here. In December, when Ms. Hoffler, if she is elected, she would be coming off the planning board and we would have an opening then? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Miss Brenda Felton, is she here? She isn't here tonight, is she? She's the choice of the board to fill the vacant position by time of election. All right, the next one, we've got 2 positions that were up for renewal or replacement. We'll do Mr. Dan Lang first, the position there. We also have the same names available for these positions. For this position, Mr. Dan Lang. We'll add Dan Lang's name to it. We need to go into a nomination for this position. Do I have a motion to open nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Wade.
Hold.
So moved.
We got a motion. Do I have a second?
We have a motion?
Motion to open.
Motion to open nominations.
So moved. Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, now, gentlemen, we've got the position by Mr. Dan, being held now by Mr. Dan Lang. We've got 3 nominations for this position. Mr. Wade Askew, and Mr. Wesley Moselle, and Mr. Dan Lang. All right, then we have nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Dan Lang to be reappointed to the planning board for a second term.
All right, we have any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Wade Askew for that position.
All right, are there any other nominations? If not, a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, gentlemen, we've got 2 nominations for the position on planning board. One is Mr. Daniel Lang and Mr. Wade Askew. We'll do Mr. Wade Askew first. Mr. Wade Askew, all in favor, say aye. Or raise your hand. All right, 4. All opposed? We'll do it for Dan then. All right, Wade, you've been chosen to seat the board. All right. The next, we've got another one that Mr. Chuck Brothers is sitting in. We've also got the same names listed for the seat that right now on the planning board held by Mr. Chuck Brothers. We need a motion for nomination to open.
So move.
All right, nominations, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we're accepting nominations for the third position. We've got a Mr. Daniel Lang. We have Mr. Chuck Brothers. We have Mr. Wesley Moselle. Do I have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Chuck Brothers to serve a second term of 3 years on the planning board.
All right, I've got a nomination with Mr. Chuck Brothers. Do I have any more nominations? All right, no more nominations. Mr. Chuck Brothers, need a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
All in favor, do I have a second?
Second.
We got too many at one time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, we've got one nomination with this board. That'll be Mr. Chuck Brothers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, Mr. Chuck Brothers, you'll serve another term. Chuck, you here? Okay. All right, let's move on.
One quick question. This was discussed at the last planning board meeting. I'm not going to spring this on you now. We can wait until your June meeting. They have discussed maybe having ex officio members, like you did 3 years ago, to guide the new ones that may be coming in. And I just wanted to present that idea to you all just to think about. I know that we haven't had time to discuss it, but maybe in June we can consider it.
All right. How did we, just keep board the members in place?
What they did was when I first got here, there was a major turnover of the board, and Dan Boyce and Lee Riddick stayed on as just advisory members for a period of 3 months to guide and help train the new ones, and that was the end of it. They didn't vote.
Okay. Gentlemen, would y'all like to make any kind of motion to that arrangement that we've had in the past? I guess not.
Think about it.
So we'll think about it.
No problem. And last thing would be the Hollowell major subdivision. I gave you new copies just recently. And this was unanimously approved by the planning board at our meeting. We made one slight change to the wording on the plat that says the existing ditch may be relocated per the note with the NC DOT right-of-way encroachment agreement. And other than that, there was no other stipulations. We're just asking your approval.
You just increased 2 more lots on that to a large subdivision, is that right?
I'm sorry, sir.
This can be a large subdivision or
It's going to be a major,
a
yes, sir.
major subdivision? This on Daniels Road.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept and adopt the site plan for the subdivision development, major subdivision development.
All right, we've got a motion to accept the site plan as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. All right, next on the agenda, Ms. Reba.
As you know, we are in the process of hiring, and we have been able to interview and make a selection for our 4-H agent position. And this position is funded by North Carolina A&T State University. And like NC State, you all pay a part of that salary. And with A&T, though, we have to get this signed every time we hire a person. It's at the same percentage. It's just needing a signature, and our plan is for this person to start August 1st. But we have to get all the paperwork in order to make sure HR is clear with everything before they can start.
All right, gentlemen, we've got a memorandum of agreement in front of you. Are there any questions for Ms. Reba on this issue? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement as presented.
So moved.
All right, we got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reba. All right, the next thing we've got here will be our county manager, the old business, we'll talk about the proposed courthouse stabilization and renovation project.
I'm not 100% sure what it is we'd like to discuss tonight or what decision you'd like to make tonight, but you haven't made any progress since the meeting about 3 months ago in which Clearscapes was selected. There has been no progress since then. So I'm open to try to answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions?
Well, I'd like you to bring us up to speed as to what our next move is. I know we had Clearscapes in here, and they had done some evaluations, but they supposed to come back to do some specific assessments, and that required approval of the funding.
Right. I don't believe you've made any progress other than selecting Clearscapes. I don't believe we've signed the contract for them to begin their work or anything of any significance yet. I believe you selected them, which obviously is a step in the right direction, but I don't believe you made any progress other than that I'm aware of.
What was the first phase of the cost of the first phase?
Ah.
30?
37,
Yeah.
something like that.
Did we budget anything for that this year?
Nope.
I think we need to decide what the next step is to move forward, and obviously it sounds like we need to contact them. Then we need to find the funds.
I agree, except I think you'd probably do that in other order, but yes, I agree with that. I think you'd probably need to find the funds before we contact them, because I'm not sure what we would tell them if we contacted them right now, other than you've been selected, but we don't really know what to tell you to do.
Well, if I recall, when we tabled this, we were supposed to be looking at potential grants and ways of funding it. I think we talked with Sydney.
Sydney, how about coming up here a minute? While he's here, let's ask him if he's made any progress on it. It's a good time to just determine. Thank you, Sydney. We talked, you and Henry and I and Toby talked about this issue. Have you got any progress on any grants available?
Yes, sir. I've narrowed it down to pretty much around 28 grants and organizations that are good prospects right now. Obviously, most of the grants are very competitive, and there's a couple that we're probably not going to already get, but we should probably still put in for them anyways. But yes, I've narrowed it down to roughly 28 or so.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And what is the total impact, Sydney?
The total impact?
Yeah, those grants.
Funds, potential funds we could receive.
No, I've not looked into that yet. My main thing was I was getting rid of all those grants who there was no potential right there because the list was so long. All I was doing was getting rid of all those that we had no chance of getting whatsoever. But I will definitely look into that as soon as I can.
And so what percentage of the total was that you identified these out of the how many total then that you said that we had no chance?
It's a lot.
A lot.
I gotta look into it. I gotta look into the numbers though. They gave me a long list, so I had to crunch the numbers for you though.
Okay, so there are a lot that are qualified, but then out of your opinion, there were only certain ones that you knew that was
Yes.
a distinct
I
possibility.
was just looking at the ones that we had the potential going for. I wasn't looking at the money amounts. Some of the
Right.
grants, they didn't even tell you what amount they were going
Okay.
for because you got to have the range. And they
Okay.
say like, you could get this amount, like $1,000 to $5,000.
Right, okay.
So there was no clear indication of what
I understand.
amount.
All right, out of the ones that you identified, what would be the probability of success, do you think?
I don't, but
Any
the
idea?
total cost is predicted around $3 million. I don't see how we can get to $3 million.
No,
Out of just the
that's
grants.
not what I'm saying.
If that's
Let's
what
say
you
you
said.
identified the 25.
Yes.
What is the probability of being successful for those grants?
Well, they're very competitive. I'm not sure because I've never messed with in terms of the competition for the grant process.
Mhm.
But some of the grants seem to be very competitive. We'd be competing against a lot of people. I'd say slim to none. There's a couple in there, like USDA. We'll probably get a couple of grants from them very easily, but some of the others, it didn't look that great though.
What about, can you set up a meeting with the county manager and Henry, maybe discuss these that you
Yes.
got, and y'all decide what our next step would be towards these grants? That'd be all right with you, gentlemen?
I think if we can identify some potential funds and you know, have a good chance of bringing them in, then, you know, the county should definitely move forward in having Clearscapes to start some assessment based on potentially bringing in these funds.
Also, I recall, Henry, that in our selection process, we chose Clearscapes because of their expertise in that area. So with that being the case, it would make sense that if Sydney's going to be involved in that process going forward, that you know, he's involved in some of the contact there as well. Sydney, what you probably will find, if you found 28 opportunities for grants, you will probably find that when you start qualifying for them, that will automatically disqualify you for some others because you're already in a grant
Yes.
receiving process. So you might want to certainly keep that in mind.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's give Toby a call next week and set up a meeting.
I think the other thing we ought to keep in mind is that, as Jack said, we chose Clearscapes because they had the potential of bringing in some grants. So, you know, the risk for the county having to substantially fund the planning phase of it at least is probably not that great. And so I think we need to move forward on this, and like I said, we can get together and kind of identify which ones and potentially how much. That's going to be a big step
And
forward.
get a list of them and maybe talk to Mike about them. He may have some input on.
All right.
All right, thanks, Sidney, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Miss Sadler? Go ahead and speak from where you at.
I know this is not all, but I was wondering if you looked at National Trust for preservation, for historic preservation, and the Main Street.
We'll have to check with him and see. He had a list of 40 grants that were, he started working on.
I think maybe it might be of greater interest.
Okay, thank you, Miss Sadler.
And of course, Sydney, the other thing is the tax credits, because that is the biggest, number one thing with that historical site is the 30% and the possible 40% on the tax credit side that with corporations. So it's very important to identify those that are participating in our philanthropy like this. And there's also a guy in Washington, D.C., and I can't think of his name right now. I believe it's some kind of Einstein or Stein that has been very proactive in doing this thing and restoring historical buildings. That is, and I can't think of his name, but I do have that somewhere in my notes.
All right, if nothing else on this issue, we'll move on to our new business. On new business, our county manager has several issues. First are the personnel board recommendations.
Sure. Gentlemen, you have in front of you the Personnel Board meeting minutes from April 25th. There were two primary issues that were discussed and voted on by the Personnel Board. The first one is Patrice Lassiter has asked that the commissioners weigh the opportunity of increasing the salaries of her driver, her non-CDL drivers from $785 to $825, and her CDL from $801 to $925. She believes she'll be able to pay for this through her budget due to the fact that a full-time employee is leaving, and she'll replace that person with two part-times. She believes it'll be a net zero to her budget. She'd ask that you would consider that. She feels that it's hurting her in the recruiting process of qualified applicants, which I've sat in on some of her interview panels, and I would tend to agree with her on that. And she believes that she's losing opportunities to the school system because they're paying what she's asking to start paying for their drivers. That would be the first issue.
Do we need to act on these individuals?
Yeah, I would.
All right, the personnel board, we discussed this, and we made a recommendation as the personnel board to the Board of Commissioners to make the change in the pay scale for the GETS drivers, and that's the recommendation from the personnel board.
So what is the exposure with benefits or FICA?
Well, they don't have benefits because they're part-time employees.
Yeah, you got FICA though.
Right, but you don't have benefits. That's a tax.
So what's the total exposure?
You would have to look at, it can't be more than 999 times the number. Can't be more than that. because a part-time person can only work 999 hours in 12
Right,
months.
1,000, and so
No, it's not 1,000, so it's
15,
999.
25, 15, it's 40, that's $400. And then, so how many people are involved in this?
She's replacing, one full-time
So
person.
Two part-time.
With 2 part-time people.
Okay.
And her budget will not change, cost-wise.
I would say there's less than 10, probably.
Kenny, you got any input on this? You sit on that board, I think.
I just know what she was looking at. She felt like there was, a break-even thing.
Not between the classifications?
Right.
Toby, has she had much turnover year to year?
I don't know if I'd say much, but she has had some turnover. I'd say in 3 years, we probably replaced 5, maybe. Kenny, does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that area.
She has some turnover. You got to realize she's using a lot of people that are retired from other jobs as her drivers. So they've worked several years, and then they decide they want to do something different. So.
Any other discussion on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the Personnel Board's recommendation to increase the CDL drivers' salaries from $801 to $925,
Second.
And the non-CDL drivers.
and non-CDL.
Okay, we've got a motion. Do we still have a second?
Second again.
Second.
Second. All right, motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right,
The second issue in front of the Personnel Board on the 25th was Matt Lowe from Soil and Water. When he was hired 4 years ago, he just worked the schedule of the person he replaced, which happened to be a federal schedule, which local government employees cannot work, which has pushed him over in violation of the Fair Labor and Standards Act, which this would rectify. Sandy's gone back through his timesheets and has pulled out our exposure over the past 2 years, which is what we would be legally required to pay. And it would be somewhere in the area of 146 hours, which is about $3,000, which is inside of their budget. So I would recommend that you accept the Personnel Board recommendation to correct this issue, and it'll be right going forward.
all right. The Personnel Board didn't make this recommendation after the discussion we had. This is an issue with the Fair Labor
Standards Act.
We need to make this adjustment to stay within the legal limits of the federal laws, state laws. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Go ahead.
The only thing is why did we get to this point? That's the case,
Well, the way it was brought to the board was that he took over a job, and they were, at some point in time over the years, has been working a federal schedule, and nobody really understood it was a different until it got this far along. I believe he took over the job from Dennis Utz, and Dennis was working that schedule.
Is this
At some point in time, they were able to do a federal schedule, I understand, and then it was a federal job at one point. It was changed, and the schedule was never changed, and nobody realized that at that point.
is this a 40-hour week, a 37 and a half, or a 35?
He's 35 now.
So the comp time was based on a 35 base.
What do you mean, based off 35 days?
If you work 36 hours, you got comp
He
time.
said 35 days.
5 hours.
35 hours. No, yes. He has to be paid straight time for 35 to 40 and the time and a half for 40 and above.
And his schedule's been
So-
changed to rectify it.
Been scheduled to how many hours now?
35.
Still on 35 hours.
No, he's not still on. He's now on 35. He was on 40. He's being paid out to get him down to a 35 schedule.
So the 35 hours would I mean, this is a matter of compliance.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really know that y'all want to not do this.
Right.
No, you
It's-
got to.
Yeah, I mean, this, we
I
can
mean,
debate it if you like, but
It's against law not to do this.
at the end of the day, we're gonna have to approve this. The
Mr.
schedule's already
Chairman.
been changed.
Yes, sir.
On the recommendation of the Personnel Board and to comply with what we need to, I would move that we accept this, this recommendation.
All right, we got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. Next,
No.
go ahead, I'm
I
sorry.
think I have the next 7 issues. So
Right.
the next issue I have is, I've been contacted by President Dita Meyer of the College of Albemarle. Gates County Board of Commissioners has an appointee on their Board of Trustees. It's currently, as we sit here, Abram Saunders. Mr. Saunders is up for reappointment and has declined to be reappointed. Diane has talked to him to verify that to be factual, and he is voluntarily asking to not be reappointed. So President Dita Meyer has asked me to ask you to have someone replace Mr. Saunders.
Right now, there's nobody that has come forward for this appointment. I've talked with a couple of the commissioners in the last day or two. I am a graduate of COA for 3 times, and I would like to be appointed to this position to fill it after Mr. Saunders leaves. And I would ask the board to support that.
What is the length of that term?
Do you have a link on it?
I don't, I'm sorry.
I remember we were reappointed, in the last 4 years, we appointed Mr. Saunders back to it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I can support that, and I would make a motion that Graham Twine fill that position.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right. I thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Next issue I have is, we've been asked by the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners to support a resolution and showing our support for Senate Bill 433. Senate Bill 433, as you remember, I believe you voted on, or at least discussed about a year ago, is the bill that's passed the Senate and will now be going to the House in the short session, that is designed to give local governments flexibility in the human services organizational structure that they use. You have in front of you all the details of the resolution. I'm glad to entertain any questions you have.
Well, I've already taken a position on this, that the DSS is not in support of this, and there's several major concerns and reasoning for that. And a lot of it is organizational. To me, there's some possible conflicts of interest in the services that they provide, and so I am not in support of this. And we have discussed that as our board, and the DSS board unanimously voted to not support Senate Bill 433. It has to do with the some consolidations, which I would be possibly in support of regional consolidations. There are some possible savings from a centralized standpoint, but as a small county, I don't see where we really will have any significant savings. In high populated service areas, yeah, I think that's true. The Mecklenburg and the Wake probably works great for them. It does not work very well for rural social services. I don't think. Not only that, it's a matter of the State Personnel Act situation with employees, and the county would have to come in compliance, basically. Is that not true with the state? And
Well, I can take whatever issues you have one by one, or I can deal with them as a group. I would disagree that it would not affect the organizational structure. I would say it would, and it's not designed to deal exclusively with finances. It's more to deal with accountability, because as we sit here, the 5 commissioners here have absolutely no say-so in terms of organizational structure or how DSS is operated, even though you do provide the bulk of their finances.
But,
You have a DSS board that does that.
but we also have one sitting county commissioner is on there, and then another one that is actually directly appointed by the county commissioners.
Right, so you have 40% of a board
That
that
is
can do
correct.
very little, since you would obviously need a majority.
That's correct. But it's not about the majority, it's about teamwork and getting
Well-
things done and passed.
What is the general feeling across the state and each county at this time? I know when we talked about this before, almost all 100 county board of commissioners supported this.
I think you're going to see a breakdown pretty much along where he sits, where he stands kind of issue. DSS boards are going to unanimously oppose it. County commissioner boards are almost unanimously going to support it, because it's going to give county commissioner boards flexibility that you're not required to even utilize. It would give you the opportunity, if you so choose, to reorganize, but does not mandate or require or even encourage you to use that option. However, years down the line, you decide that you believe it would be more effective or efficient to reorganize the structure, then you would have the legal right to, which you do not have as we sit here.
There are 5 program studies on consolidation and regionalization, of which one of those I do support, and I do think there are some possible savings there. And that would be something like Perquimans, Pasquotank, Gates, Chowan, something like that, where you could do some of these structural things with a centralized thing. But from a rural DSS standpoint, I think it's a bad idea. I just don't think that's very good. Now, another thing that's changed, up until, how many years ago did fund balance reside in DSS?
I mean, what?
DSS did have a fund balance up until X number of years ago, and I don't know when that was.
I have no idea.
Do you know, Jeff?
I was aware of one, but I'm not aware when it was,
Right.
moved over to the general fund balance.
And which now, I mean, actually, we take those, same thing, whether it's excess revenues or excess expenditures with a negative or positive cash flow, flows right into the coffers of the Gates County. Now, another issue that comes into play here is the federal aspect between federal and state and drawdowns. And how does that impact it? I don't have the expertise to really tell you. I know Colleen and Jeff probably can. But it is a significant impact on where these dollars are coming from and what you draw down. Now, do we lose that functionality? You know, that's the risk to me.
And I think these are all legitimate questions that would be answered if you elected to pursue this once this bill is passed, which, again, you're under no obligation to do. Only thing Senate Bill 433 would do is give you the opportunity to reorganize. That's all it would do.
All right, we've got the Senate bill here. What is the pleasure of the board to support or not support this resolution in support of the Senate Bill 433?
I make a motion not to support this Senate bill based on my previous vote with the DSS board.
Okay, we've got a motion on the floor not to support this bill. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second not to support this bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. All right. That answers that.
All right, the next issue I have is I've been contacted by Wendy Jewett with the Albemarle Commission. She needs to have a person appointed to the Northeast Workforce Development Board. She's looking for actually 2 appointments. One is a community-based person, which honestly I'm not really sure what that means, but that's the title she used. She gave the example of John Grissmiller has previously served in that position. The second person she's looking for is a private sector person. This this organization sets policy for workforce development training. You would be required to go to one meeting a month, and the only thing that you would be reimbursed for is a travel stipend.
We had two members on this board. I think Jonathan was appointed by the chamber. They like to have one from the Chamber of Commerce and one from the commissioners. Jonathan stepped down, and John Rismill also stepped down when he went back to college. So we have nobody at this time. We would like to, hopefully, if anybody in the audience here would be interested in serving on this board, we'd be interested in that. They'd like to have somebody from a faith-based or workforce-based in the county. If we do not have one, they will appoint somebody from another county, and we will not have a say in this workforce development board. They don't have a problem with doing that, but they would like to have somebody from the county.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
due to the lack of having a application to review, I'd like to, I don't know what our timeline is, but I'd like to suggest that the commissioners solicit some candidates for this position.
Okay. The chamber, do they have anybody yet? Do you know of that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, well, let's, in that case, let's wait until the 1st of June meeting and see if we can solicit somebody. If anybody knows anybody, would you contact the commissioner or the clerk's office here that would be interested in serving on this board in workforce development?
Might add, it's in Hertford, North Carolina.
Yeah, they meet in Hertford at the building over there back of the doctor's offices, behind the health station up in that corner in there. That's where they meet at. All right. Next on the list.
Next for me, we've been dealing with this issue for, I think, about 6 or 8 months. Mr. Chairman, I believe you're probably more intimately involved in this than I am. Sunbury Volunteer Fire Department has pursued to be repaid for their driveway that they installed to their new fire station. After several months of wrangling, I believe we actually have finally got this resolved, and this agreement would be between, the county would serve as the middleman between the volunteer fire department and DOT, and we would be a pass-through for the money from DOT back to the fire department. I talked to Barry Haas with DOT today. He believes that everything is in order, minus one bore sampling that they have to do, and volunteer fire department said they would like to hold off on that until this agreement is in place. So excluding the one bore, and everything appears to be in order.
All right, gentlemen, what this was basically about was the state dedicated $25,000 to the Sunbury Fire Department for paving their parking lot and their driveway, which is only partial of what it took. When it come down to doing it, they changed the rules for them, and they had to step through some hoops to get it done and get it all squared away. So they've been working on this for nearly a year now. The state has set the money aside and is willing to take care of it now. We just need to act as a catalyst for that money to get through to the Sunbury Fire Department.
Is that, there was something in here about $67,000. Is that the total cost?
That's the total cost.
That was the total cost. The state only appropriated $25,000, if I remember the number right.
So
That's
all the balance is coming from,
The fire department.
Yeah, the fire department's paid the rest of it out of their funds.
out of county allocation?
No, out of
No, out of the
out of
fire
their
department's
fire
funds.
department funds.
Fundraising and things like that.
But, which is commingled with the county allocations, right?
However they handle their budget, I would think.
Yes.
We've been working on this for a long time, and they thought it was, everything was okay when they filed the paperwork, and it turned into a situation. We had to get a senator and congressman involved in it and try to get it squared away.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready to bring this to an end.
I think I'd like to make a few comments. Under item C on page 4, it says that the county shall maintain all books, documents, papers, accounting records, and such other evidence as may be appropriate to substantiate costs incurred under this agreement. County manager, are we prepared to take hold of those documents?
I think we can acquire copies of all those documents.
All right, well, you know, that's what we're agreeing to. So I think we need to make sure that we follow up on that. And, D says the county agrees that it shall bear all costs for which it is unable to substantiate actual costs.
We can acquire the documents in C before the chairman signs it, if you wish.
Right. On page 5, item 11, it says the county and our fire department shall comply with the Title VI of the Civil Rights Acts of 1064. That needs to be 1964, I believe. We need to make that correction.
This is their paperwork, I think.
Yeah, but
There's several page fives in here.
big one.
I said there's several page
Is it-
fives
is
in
it?
here.
I've got it. I know where you're at.
Other than that,
We took
I
care of it.
think we can move forward.
All right, Jack, you want to make that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we agree with this letter of approval for the Sunbury Fire Department to receive those $25,000 from the state.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, one more thing.
Yeah, this last thing I have, and this is, I don't know if we'll end up voting on this or just soliciting input more or less. We're at the point with our projects for the year that we're about to deal with the roof for this building. We've gotten 3 quotes, 2 are for membrane roofs and 1 is for a rubber roof. The rubber roof is about half, more than half, of the membrane roof. If we do the rubber roof, we can do it this year. If not, we're going to need to push it off. I wanted to maybe get some discussion from the board on any kind of pleasure you have one way or the other. I would encourage, go ahead and do the rubber roof, and let's get it done. It's easier to maintain. I just think it'll be better all the way around, but I wanted to solicit the board's opinion on that.
So what's the warranty period between the two?
15.
Both of them 15?
15 for the rubber. $15 for both.
And the differential in the price is what? Half?
The cheapest membrane roof is $123, and the rubber roof is $57.
57,000.
Mhm.
Well, do you want to, I mean,
If you don't have an opinion one way or the other, I'm going to go ahead and go with the rubber roof, but I wanted the board to weigh in on this decision if you so choose. If not, I'll move forward.
Well, what would be the advantages of paying $123,000 for membrane versus 57 for a rubber? I mean, is it just,
They're just different materials. I've talked to Terry Edwards. Terry Edwards recommends you go with the rubber roof. He says it's easier for our people to maintain. He thinks it's the way to go. And I agree with him.
Well, being as the warranty period is both, and based on that comment, which I would tend to agree, I would make a motion that we would proceed with the membrane roof at, not membrane, but rubber roof at $57,000.
all right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
And get it done now.
second?
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. That settles that, right?
Fortunately, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Okay, that's it for this section. Next on the agenda will be our second citizens' comments. Do we have any more up there? Are there any more on that sheet up there? Okay. All right, the only two we've got is Mr. Daniel Baseball. I knew you were there. I want to be sure we're in the right order.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dan.
And, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, I thank you for the opportunity to come before you. I'm from the Hall Township area. And, when you first opened up and made the comments on the earlier citizens' comments, you said that you would like to hold it to the old courthouse concept. I find it hard for me to stand before you to talk about the old courthouse without talking about some other issues as well. So if it pleases the board, I would like to be able to allude on the different factors that I feel as though that ties in with funding for courthouse and other areas. If the board will
That'll be
allow me to
fine,
speak
that'll
that.
be fine, Dan.
Thank you. Now, to start with, the courthouse does have a lot of history. I think most people will agree to that. The building stands for itself. The historical records show that. But keep in mind that there was a meeting, to remind you, you guys held a meeting, you gentlemen held a meeting. And when that meeting was held, there was a party that sat here facing you with his back to the audience, if you recall. And you were talking about funding possibly in stages for the courthouse. If you gentlemen do recall that. And if you recall, the gentleman stated something about if you could make it to where it would produce revenue, it would fall in one category. If it did not produce revenue, then it would fall into a different category. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're on the same sheet of music and ideas in this area. So therefore, some comments were made at that time that they wasn't so sure that we could come up with something that we could receive enough revenue to justify to be in Plan A instead of Plan B. And at that time, when he made the comment about for it to be somewhat sustaining itself, meaning that it fell in Plan A to produce revenue, at that point in time, I believe I even made a comment that it would be good, and I still feel that way. And for it not to be made as an albatross on the shoulders of the people. I think I used the phrase something like that. And when I say albatross around the shoulder of the people, I mean a burden that will take place forever. Because if we spend $3 million on that, or plus, whatever develops, less or plus, whatever dollar value we spend, it's going to be an ongoing thing from here until you lock the doors. Any of these buildings are that way. Any man-made structure is that way. You have to have upkeep. You're going to have to continue to have to keep the building up. Who's going to pay the light bill? Are we going to pay the light bill? The citizens going to pay the light bill? Who's going to pay for the utilities? The gas, the oil, the grass cutting, the maintenance of the building. Is that something that's going to be added on to us each year into the budget for upkeep for the building? I would think it probably would. So just to say a one-time cost of something, to me, is misleading. When we're talking about something, I'm quite sure you guys do your homework. I'm not challenging you on that. But when we talk about something to the public, we need to talk about something of the whole picture, not just what the 50 or 75 people in the county want to hear. We need to talk about what the majority of the people want to hear. Now, right now, I would be in that 50 to 75, saying that we need to do something. But what does the majority want? Are we putting anything out to get a majority feedback? Are we going to sit on it, and if they do get a majority feedback, are we not going to give them an answer? Are we going to give them an answer and go for what the majority wants? So I believe that a good concept is to do just like a couple of you commissioners recommended on another issue, and I'm not going there. And that is that you get some feedback with some type of paper that you send out called a survey, and get the feedback before we do too much planning, and see what, if you get back 500 or 600 and you got 50 people that want it and 500 or 600 that don't want it, who were you elected to serve? The majority. All right? You know that. I don't have to remind you of that. So therefore, to keep all this squabbling that went on another issue from happening, let's do it right from the beginning. If the end result says we're going to redo this courthouse and we're going to spend all this money, that's fine and good. But I'd like to remind you of another issue. And this is why I requested an exception to be able to add a speech onto something other than the courthouse. And that is our school system. Our school system, you are well aware of, is one of the better in Northeast North Carolina. And I applaud you and the ones before you that funded that school system and the workers in that school system that have made it what it is. Now, we don't want that school system to stay where it's at and to even go to the negative side of the picture. We want it to continue to rise and produce our young people at a higher level of education that the world is demanding of them today in the workforce. A person without a high school education, it's almost impossible to get a job. They have to be trained either in a technical field or they have to have some college. And if they have a degree, many of them major in things that they have trouble with even getting employment in. We're aware of that. Speaking of history, I am one of those that loves to read. I study history. Second World War history, right on back to the war between the states. Did research here in the county to find the oldest building I could find in the county. How much historical is a building that's 1750 in the county that is not even being looked at for anything? See what I'm saying? But this is an issue that if you dig in different areas, there's a lot of history. I even studied about buffaloes. People say, well, a buffalo is a bison. But there was a different buffalo. How many of you studied the history during the war between the states? And you will see that there was a buffalo person that was a person that did not fight for the North. He did not fight for the South. He was a person that stole the hogs and the chickens and stuff off of the farm and sold them to the North to feed the soldiers. He was called a buffalo. The history of this county has buffaloes in it. One of them was within 1 mile of where I live at. And I studied that. So I am a believer in history. I think we should preserve what we can. But I think we should do our homework in detail and serve the majority of the people and not just one special interest group. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, Anthony, you're next on the list. Good evening, Anthony.
I do want to keep this courthouse, saved out there across the street. I'm not really worried about, the bats that were mentioned. The only thing I mentioned about is when they get ready to do the renovation, I want to make sure that, they have somebody who go in there and test out this building because, old buildings like this may contain asbestos or lead. That's the only thing I'm worried about it. So when they get ready to do what they're going to do, they won't, damage it or anything.
Okay.
That's the only thing I'm worried about.
Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it. All right, that ends that part of it. Oh, okay, well, one at a time then.
Hello, my name is Michelle Cook, and I'm from Muir. This is not an issue with courthouse. I came to talk about an incident that happened today. Outside of my home, I had a young couple pull up, and I witnessed him beating his significant other, and so did my children. We immediately called 911 to speak with, someone, And I was told that the deputies would not be able to make it out in enough time, that there was nothing that they could do to help us. Now, I gave them the description of the vehicle. I gave them the tag number. I understand if they had sent someone out to our location that they probably would have missed them. However, I was just wondering about policy and procedures. Is there some sort of procedure that states if they cannot make it to a location, you have a tag number, then can't they go out to make sure if this girl was okay? I mean, she could be, on the 11 o'clock news tonight that somebody's found her body. Or what if it wasn't an abuse situation? What if I'd called and needed someone because someone was taking my child out of my front yard? Was I going to be told the same thing? I can understand, where this may have just been one incident, and, thank God that I haven't had to have very much interaction with our sheriff's department. But I had another incident in which someone was firing a shotgun at 1:30 in the morning outside of my house, and it was a neighbor. I called. They did send 2 deputies out. The deputies rode up and down the road shining a flashlight and listening. I told them where it was at. I mean, wouldn't there be a procedure in which they would ride down to this person's house and to see what the problem was? The only response we got was, well, do you think that maybe they were just discharging their gun? Well, I'm a city girl, and I know that in the city, we don't discharge a gun at 1:30 in the morning, no matter what the case, and I would think that it would be the same thing as in the country. I come from a long line of people that hunt, and I'm very, familiar with guns, and that's just not something that you do. So I'm just here to say that I do not really feel comfortable or secure with the interactions that I've had with the Sheriff's Department, and these are, people that's supposed to be serving us and protecting the community. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just here to kind of back up what she was just
Nate-
saying. My
Nate?
name is Carolyn Riddick. I'm from the Euro Township.
Hi, Carol.
It's been about a year or two ago, and I know our sheriff's department, they're kind of, we don't have that many for one thing. They get underpaid for what they do. But I do know we have 2 in our area, but for the majority of the time, all the deputies seem to be either Drum Hill, Core Peak. When we need them on our side of the county, we have to wait for a long period of time. About a year ago, I had an incident which I started receiving a text about 11 o'clock at night. I really got concerned because I kept getting them all through the night. I was getting them next morning while I was in church. So I called down here because I was in fear that this was a young girl that was either being raped or held against her will. I told the dispatcher what kind of text I was getting and the whole situation, how long I had been receiving the text. Her response was to me, just text them back and tell them not to text you again. It really irritated me. So I said, I'm just going to leave it alone. I didn't send anything back to this person because I didn't know what the situation was. And any evidence that I could have if something came up, I wanted to have it on my phone. So the next morning, I had decided, well, you know what? Gates County is not going to help me with this. So according to a text that I had received and I had talked to someone, they told me they thought Chowan College was involved with this. So I go to Hereford County Sheriff's Office. Immediately, they took action. They called the number that my text messages was coming from. They found out who it was, and come to find out this person was a neighbor of mine, her child. And they took my phone and they solved and resolved, and it was something really major that needed to be dealt with. Now, I know we may be understaffed, and if the deal is there's not enough money, then some of this money that we're spending, we don't need to be spending. We need to be paying these deputies or hiring more that can cover this county. Because as taxpayers, it's just like this young lady just said. If I need them at the middle of the night and I'm getting broke into and somebody's got a gun at my family, I want to know that I can depend on my local sheriff department. And that's all I have to say on this issue. Now, I do have another issue, and I just spoke with Mr. Jernigan about it. Summertime's coming up. We really have a big issue at Rays Beach. We need patrolling down there because all summer we have kids down there, and we have kids that are coming from the other side of the county. You can go down that road. You can ask anybody you want to on Fort Island Road. There's too much speeding down there. too much underage drinking, and some of it is given to these kids by adults, and somebody needs to start patrolling. They're tearing up the property down there. People are afraid to, even leave their homes sometimes because they don't know if they're going to come back and find everything stolen. If we're going to be taxpayers to help pay payrolls for deputies, then we need to be having deputies patrol, especially in the summertime, because Rays Beach is a very hot spot in the summertime. And a few years back, I kept calling because of situations like there were four-wheelers and all. Couldn't get no assistance. Well, we had an incident one afternoon with a girl that comes out of there drinking, driving a four-wheeler with two kids on it. And what happened? She hits a bump flying out of there, she flips, and two kids are injured. But nobody wants to patrol. Nobody wants to step up to the plate. We need somebody on this side of the county to help out and not just always on the other side. When we call them, we don't want to say, well, it's too late now. This person's already up a tree somewhere. So if y'all would, we would really appreciate some assistance in trying to get some help to monitor what's going on this side of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. The two of y'all, I will carry your issues to Ed myself personally this week.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm Susan Brown. I'm a
Hi,
high school
Susan
English
Brown.
teacher. I live here in Gatesville. And I came tonight to hear what people were saying about the restoration of the courthouse. And I think a lot of good points have been made. I'm going to speak from an educator's perspective for just a second, and I'll keep it brief. I believe that keeping the courthouse as a courthouse has been valuable for my education, and turning it into a library has added to my education. But I have a child who's going to come through Gates County Schools, and probably pray to have more children that come through Gates County Schools. Part of the new curriculum coming from our nation asks teachers to make connections, not just in textbooks, but to make connections for children between what they read and what they see. And in a rural area, such as Gates County, we really need to tap into what resources we do have. Linda Hoffler has done a fabulous job at Gates County High School with her Gates County history class and using the resources that are here in the county to make those connections. But as we see this new curriculum coming into play over the course of the next 3 years across the nation, you're going to have more teachers, such as myself, reaching out to the local resources so that I can make connections between what my students read about the American Civil War and the literature that comes from that period and what we have right here in our county as part of a deep literature. The graffiti on the walls even is an example of literature in our county. And so I just ask that you consider what's coming in the future of education and how educators are being asked to make connections to what's right before our students' eyes, what they see each and every day and don't even know the value of yet, that you'll allow us the opportunity by leaving this building to the Historical Society and allowing them to do things with it that will give us an opportunity to really teach the kids so that they don't just walk away from high school saying, well, yes, I read that. That they can actually make some connections between what they read and what they see, and then in the future go out and do and give back to a community that has so richly grown them. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Come on, Ms. Toady. Hi. How you doing?
I just wanted to add a few more ideas as to what could be done with the old courthouse. First of all, I applaud you all in making the decision for Clearscapes. I don't know if you've been in the McGuire Theater, the old Chessons building, but about 25 years ago I had the opportunity to go in there when it was the old Chessons building, and I found out that there was a theater up there. And so I went to the owner and I said, I'm a theater teacher. Can I please see in that old part? And she let me climb up the stairs and open up the sliding door, and I got to peer down into the theater. It was full of dressmaker dummies and all kinds of, stuff, all the accoutrements that go with a Chessons department store building. And I remember 25 years ago going, oh my gosh, I hope this building will be restored. Think of what we had there. And then, of course, you know the history. A group of arts people got together and they raised funds. They had a vision of what that building could offer back to its community. And it's a wonderful facility, and Clearscapes of Raleigh helped do that. Clearscapes is not only an architectural firm, but it also has an artist at its heart, Thomas Sayre. So I think anything that you all do with Clearscapes will head the direction of the courthouse in a wonderfully forward direction, taking in the architecture and fully implementing it, you know, helping restore it to where it could be used for a variety of things here in the county. And I do agree it needs to be a majority of people. It does need to be a team. When you look at the number of voters that turn out at the recent election, it's not a majority of the citizens in Gates County, but it's the ones who care enough to make their voices heard. So I think we've got to serve those people, the ones who care enough to come and speak up on behalf of things that they are passionate about. So I ask you, as you move forward with the courthouse, and I hope that we can move forward in the courthouse, because I would love to see the jail cell done as a museum. We are a destination place. Now, I'm not a native Gates County person. I think I will finish my 25th year here. I'm starting to lose count. But I remember coming to the courthouse when it turned into the library. I used to go to the library when it was across from Gatesville Elementary in a little building. And then it moved to the courthouse. So I came to the courthouse, and little did I know the treasures there beyond the books. The internet had not been, that was not around then. It was amazing to me that I got to go in and see boxes upon boxes of Thad Yore's things. My first year in the county, I had to work in Greenville, and I went to Raleigh. One of the first people I met was Thad Yore, because he found out one of the little old bus drivers was from Gates County. A Thad Yore museum is ready and waiting to be installed there. I don't remember the right name. Confederates Room? Patriots Room? What is it? The one with the graffiti. Patriots Room. I could see really it being a destination event for Gates County and for other counties to come over. I used to think, gosh, I got a job in the middle of nowhere. No, I got a job in the middle of everywhere. We're 30 minutes, 25 minutes away from everywhere. People will come here. I get teased a lot because they always say, well, if you plan it, they will come. After the old baseball movie, if you build it, they will come. If we can get together a group of people from all aspects willing to sit together and prepare a vision for what this building can become, I foresee the Chamber of Commerce finding a home in it. I foresee a welcome center. When I moved to Gates County, if it weren't for the good-natured people that I taught with, introducing me to their nephews, their grandsons, their brothers, everybody, I might not would have gotten to know a lot about Gates County. But through all the neighbors and through my teaching colleagues is where I found out about a lot of the things in Gates County. I wish there had been a welcome center where I could have found out about the mill pond early on, where I could have found out about the courthouse. I don't even know if it was open then, you know, how it was. But I could see First Friday night arts events. We can be like the McGuire Theater. We can host things. We can have things upstairs. Last year we did a courthouse play. It was wonderful to see the variety of citizens that came out to talk about all the memories of how things were in Gates County. And they were positive things, humorous things, sometimes something maybe a little sad. The mill pond could set up a place, could have one of the rooms in the courthouse to where when a visitor comes in, they're immediately invited to go, oh, I have got to go take care of that. I've got to go see the state park while I'm here. There are so many wonderful things, exciting things that do go on in Gates County. A lot of times we talk about all the negative things, but if we take a minute and think about our natural resources here, the people and the facilities, the buildings, we have a treasure trove that we can offer people that were once like me, brand new to Gates County. I think we could have arts exhibits. You could have all 5 schools adopt places in the courthouse where they could talk about the history of their schools. Just the other day, a retired teacher was talking about her memories of integration. It ties right in with Miss Brown. How many of our students present day know what it was really like to step forward and walk across into a school that was integrated, whereas before it was blacks at one school, whites at another? Here we have firsthand experiences. I think it would just be a wonderful way to combine our resources, putting the school system working together with the community, but I think we need a vision together. We can't just say, well, how much money is it going to take? We have to know what all is the building going to house. How can we use all those rooms, the downstairs? Once all the books and things are safely housed at a new library, there are so many wonderful spaces in there. I could see, I don't know about revenue, but I could see a gift shop of all Gates County local books, local lore, artifacts. We have quite a few artisans that could sell stuff. I love to go to the Museum of Albemarle, and they have so many local things there to purchase. Now, obviously, that's not enough money probably to pay the light bill and to pay all those things. But I do think where there's a will, there's a way, and I think it would be worth our while to see what, I went through the local election stuff where I heard everybody speak, and one of the things I really liked that I heard was how people would look at some people who knew, who had knowledge, who sought outside and listened to people. So I really think when we have citizens here who are capable of bringing a lot to the table, it would behoove us to get those people together and have a round table discussion and put forth ideas. But if we don't have a timeline, if we don't have a general vision of what we want to do, then everybody's going to feel like their ideas weren't listened to. So I ask, and I'm a big proponent of, I was very excited about the new library. I'm very excited about the State Employees Credit Union coming there. I'm excited about a lot of other things that I'd like to see happen in Gates County, because most of y'all know I'm a proponent of the arts. I would love to see the old courthouse be used continually for the courthouse plays. We have some talented musicians in the county. Some are probably sitting in this room right now. I'd love to see First Friday Nights. How many of you all enjoyed the Historical Society's Christmas tour? I went. Did anybody else go? Okay, it was a great time in Gatesville. You had the old-fashioned horse clip-clopping along. We have a lot we can do if we pull people together who have common interests at heart and also have a voice of reason. So I probably spoke longer than my time because I wasn't planning. I thought I'd already missed my time to speak. So I'll probably put the rest in a letter because I have a list of things that I think the courthouse could really host there that would benefit. We could have a farming room talking about all the agriculture. We could really talk about and showcase the positive sides of Gates County and have visitors come in and say, well, I want to go here and here and here, and take farm tours, and it would tie in education. Now, as far as money and providing a job for somebody, docents are free, they volunteer, so we'd have that. But anyway, thank you for your extra time and allowing me to come up and speak about a topic that I think would be very worthwhile for Gates County to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else like to speak tonight? All right,
I'd just like to, I forgot to make just one statement right down the end.
go ahead.
On
Dan.
the budget, I request you not put a line through what the school board requests. Issue them what they need to keep the school system going up. You guys want the county going up, you want the school system going up. Don't cut the budget fund. Old timers used to look at it and say, we're gonna have the school fund first, we're gonna give them what they need, and whatever we got left over, we'll distribute it to the other areas. Request you to have the same views.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Oh, yes, sir.
About the courthouse, I mean, y'all had said, I heard that $3 million.
Can you come up here? We can hear you.
I just was wondering, I heard the $3 million number thrown around a couple of time. Is there a number that's been given?
That's an estimate number to totally restore the courthouse.
Totally
About
restore.
3.5,
Okay.
between $2.5 and $3.5 million is what has been estimated.
Okay, all right, I was just trying to.
All right, next on our agenda will be commissioner comments. Ken, you want to start off?
I get to go first this time. I want to
Yeah.
thank everybody for coming. And I've enjoyed it. I've heard some great comments tonight about the courthouse and what we, the old courthouse and what can be used for. And this is something that I would really love to see, and we need to really work for that. Thank you.
Jack?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. Heard some great ideas, and heard and saw some passion. And, you know, I'm for anything that unites the people of the county. And some of the projects and ideas that I heard are things that unite people. So I applaud those, and thank you.
Johnny?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. It's good to see a good turnout. I really wasn't going to say a whole lot about this. A few things have been said. I called Mr. Owens about 3 weeks ago, and I told Mr. Owens, I said, Jack, if Mr. Twine wins the election, I'm not going to say not one word about that library. Not one word. Well, I went around my community, Ewell, Gatesville, and Gates. I don't get on the other side of the county very much, but I do hear what my citizens have to say and my constituents, and I listen. I'm a numbers guy. I believe in statistics. I believe in probability. And any of you know from the very beginning, and I believe we do need a library. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. But I do have a real problem when you ignore the facts that are before you, and you're blind to that. I made a presentation. It took me a while to get the data, but I got that data. And I was willing to spend $1,500 of my own money to get that. Well, lo and behold, I was lucky enough to go on the website for Polaris Systems and saw that they had 100 ad hoc reports available. Well, I called the gentleman there and I asked him about that. And he said, you haven't gotten that list yet? I said, no, sir. So then I called, and he said, well, Mr. Hoyle has them. Well, I called Mr. Hoyle and I got those. And I put them together. And I made the presentation here. And I showed you. Now this, and I don't want this to be misleading now. This is about data records that are on your barcode of the average number of people that use that for 2 years. That represented right at 11% of those that were registered to vote in Gates County. That's unaffiliated, Republicans, and Democrats. Well, that 11% had 79% adults. When you take and make that calculation, it comes to about 7%. 7 or 8, maybe 9, somewhere along there. Well, this is what happened. And I had a very good idea of what was going to happen. And I called Mr. Owens and I talked to him about this when I saw that. And I'm all about, like I said, the numbers and the statistics. Well, if you take the number of votes, and to me it was a referendum on listening and to what the majority says, and Ms. Toad is exactly right. Unfortunately, and this, I'm going to give you another statistics, then I'm going to get back to that. There's about 75% of the people that are qualified to register to vote. Out of those statistics, only 55 to that 75 in most localities actually go register to vote. When it comes voting day, about 40% of those actually hit the polls. You know how many it takes to win? 1 over, half. So it only takes 20% of the people to win. That's sad. That is sad. And people need to take interest in what they're doing. Well, when you looked at those numbers, there's 5,038 registered Democrats in Gates County. 1,951 of them, no, 19, it's been revised on the North Carolina State Board of Elections. 1,956 of them actually voted. That's it. That represented right at 39%. Well, if you go back and take the percent distributions, and this is what's so ironic, take the percent distributions, there was about 17% of the 100% that was recorded. If you put that percentage of 39% back against 100 and prorate the weighted average, the people that supported that position was about 6.7%. That's it. That's a shame. That's a real crying shame. We're not talking about pencils and paper. We're talking about $1.5 million. And I worked tirelessly and earnestly to get the majority, Mr. Jordan too, wanted to have a referendum that you could do through a tax levy or the survey, just like Ms. Riddick talked about. We put out a survey for our water box out here, but we couldn't send out a survey to you, the good citizens of Gates County, to see if you supported this library. We couldn't do that. That behooves me. That's being short-sighted and nearsighted. Whether you like my position or you don't, it's my duty to sell to you. And if I can't sell you, you know what I have to do? I have to change my position to win. And I'm here for all of us to win. I want to win. It's not too late. We're out here getting ready to spend $1.1 million out there in the Commerce Center that's 700 feet off the highway. A nice building, and we're putting it in hiding it. We don't even have a paved road to get to it. That's asinine to me when you're counting on a third party to build a road for you. We don't have a performance bond. So here we are holding the bag. We go get a building, and we might not have a road. Well, guess what? We might have to pay for the road. Is that wise business sense to you guys? Would you run your business like that? I would not. I've made my career on finance and making wise and pertinent decisions for my employer to have a return on my assets. You must have a return. There's some great ideas about the courthouse here, and I'm in total agreement. But I do intend to solicit your input. That's my sole purpose. And I hope that some of these ideas that you have, that you will share them with me. I already have some ideas. There's going to be a change in December. There may be some other changes. Just because you have a building don't mean it becomes that. There's lots of things we need in Gates County. But we do not need to be short-sighted. It is imperative that we work as a team. Now, I don't like sitting up here like this. This is not my style. Corporate society, I go shut the door. You work on me, I work on you. Unfortunately, it can't happen like that up here. It doesn't happen. So, there are a lot of things that are going to happen, but I just encourage you to take interest in your county. They are your tax dollars, and I am working hard to save them with several proposals. We've already saved $300,000 just for changing the terms on loans that have been sitting out there. We got another potential from anywhere from $600,000 to $861,000, depending on where the rates are, just by changing terms. This is being proactive and saving you taxpayers money. Mr. Pierce, a few weeks ago, talked about our debt again. And like I said, businesses that are smart are paying their debt down. They honestly, with the way things are, they have to take and cut employees and turn them loose so that they can continue to operate. It's just a fact in life. It's unfortunate. I had many people in this county that were victims of that. I had some great people working for me that were young people, had 20 years at the mill, but they got put on the street. Why? And it's easy to blame IP and that, the big businesses and things, but a smart business. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You can't do that. You cannot afford to lose money. You must make money. Well, here in Gates County, as a government, these are the way you make money, is by refinancing, getting out and doing proactive things like that, growing the revenues by reducing expenditures and your exposure. And it's easy to do that. You can take a 0.5 cent on the tax rate if we had to do that, but we're not going to have to do that. We've been positive, very positive. Cash flow positive this year, going to be real good, looks like, depending on where the burn rate is, and I don't really know that, but looking at March 31, we were $234,000 ahead. Now, it's easy to look at these things, but you have to be proactive, very much so. And you have to look at the data. You don't make decisions without the probability of success. Anybody go buy a stock and want it to go down? Do you want to do that? I don't. So you go get your data and you try to see if you're making a wise decision. I want to win. And you want to help other people win by sharing knowledge with them and growing them, because if you grow, they will grow, and they will challenge you and push you to higher levels. That's what we want for all our children. And just like Mr. Bazemore just said about our schools, it's extremely important that we continue to do that. We might not be able to retain our children, but when you send them out in the workplace, you want to make sure that they are 100% prepared to be successful in this world and be a positive influence on society. Now, we as adults have to take that responsibility too. But I look forward going forward here, and I look forward to your ideas, and I hope you will share them with me, and I will be a champion to push them forward. I'm not bashful at all, and I don't mind being challenged. But I do like for us to get along and do that, and we can do that as a team, but we must listen to everyone, not the guy that's got a dime or the guy that's got $1 million or the guy that's super bright or the one that's not. You must listen to everyone. And this 20% number that we're talking about, that's a shame. Go out there to your young people and encourage all of your people to go vote. If you're going to lose, I want to make sure I lost with everybody out there beating on me rather than just a few people. It's important. But there's just so many people that will not do that. I really have a hard time understanding that. I can understand why people won't get up and come and talk and say something, but I don't know why in the world they won't go sit in a booth with a curtain around them and nobody can see you and vote. But anyhow, enough of that tonight. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you will come back, and I hope you will encourage your people to take participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Henry?
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and glad to see you, glad to see the interest in the county. I think we need more of that, and I do encourage everyone to continue to share your opinions. I want to say a few words about serving on boards and commissions. The chairman mentioned that we have an opening on the Workforce Development Advisory Board. Here in Gates County, we've been allotted funds, federal funds, for training, retraining, and to prepare our people for employment. Many of those who are out of jobs or are just looking to relocate, and some who may not be able to get the training they need through conventional methods, a means of paying for their college or whatever. So these boards, like workforce development boards, they're very important. It's important that we consider serving on them. Many times they don't require a lot of participation, maybe once a month, but they are significant. And this Workforce Development Board, I would encourage you to consider it. Those who may have been nominated for other boards tonight, this is a good opportunity to serve. It's a good opportunity to make a difference in the county. Serving on a planning board is certainly important, but there's other things that's going on in the county that we need citizen participation. So give it some consideration. You know, serving as public servants is something that you give a little bit of yourself. You know, I thank everyone for the votes and support that I received during this election, and I thank you for it. At the same time, I'm willing to serve, and I want to serve, and I'm very happy that you have allowed me to continue to serve up to this point. But there again, it is a public service. So I encourage you to think about this opening. We've got other openings, and if you see fit, serve and make a difference in Gates County. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. I just got a comment. I'd like to thank everybody being here tonight. Everybody that had a positive about the old library. I hope y'all will be willing to be part of the committees that's going to take to put this together. And like Henry said, being part of it it's easy to sit up here and get rocks thrown at you, but that's what I signed up for. So I can enjoy it. I would like to have that pink sign back there, y'all guys. I like that. Thanks. Appreciate that. Like the yellow one too. And I thank the 325 people for supporting me. I thank the rest of them for not supporting me. So next year it won't bother me as bad. I'll be able to sleep at night for what I've done. And I'm happy that we've done what we've done for the last 4 years. And still got 6 more months. Maybe we'll get some more things done. Thank you all for being here tonight. Gentlemen, we need to go into closed session. I need a motion.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Is there any way we can go?
We need the motion to go out of closed session.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, any other business? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Well, okay, we need to recess until the 24th for budget meeting. Yeah, we need a motion to recess to the 24th for budget meeting.
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. See y'all Thursday.